Currently, some crypto critics out there are trying to scare people into thinking that cryptocurrencies are just a gimmick. They will go away eventually or will simply crash, and if not, it will be banned by governments all over the world. Which is mostly based on the belief that governments won't let another currency threaten their central banks and thus their control over their citizens. And to all of that I say, I 100% agree that they will try, but I can guarantee you they will not succeed. Because crypto is not just Bitcoin, it is much more than that. It is actually an ever-evolving blockchain technology that has real-world functionality in solving thousands of problems. Blockchain in general has a long-term potential that is so complex that it's even difficult to imagine all the ways in which we could implement it in the next 5 or 10 years. And this is exactly the point I'm trying to make, because the extreme complexity and functionality of crypto gives me complete confidence that no government can ever stop it. So don't worry about crypto going away, just worry about which projects to invest in and where you can live so you pay little or no taxes. Because if you think that global governments are actually capable of stopping something like blockchain, let me give you some examples of their current handiwork. Remember Prohibition? Well, that project turned out great. From 1920 to 1933, it was forbidden to sell, transport, produce, or even import alcohol into the United States. So naturally, nobody was drinking alcohol, right? Well, of course they were. Everybody was getting absolutely hammered, and not just on the local stuff. People were drinking whiskey from Scotland, gin from England, champagne from France, and so forth. So I think it's fair to say that was a big fat failure. Now, what else did governments successfully ban throughout history? Oh, that's right, illegal downloads. Remember those? Back in the day, you had to find a website, then navigate around the shaky handheld camcorder or malware-infested files, then download a copy on your hard disk drive, and then burn these files to a CD and later a DVD for cutting-edge viewing pleasure. If it sounds terrible, trust me, it was. So the only reason we were torturing ourselves with this process is because illegal streaming was simply not yet available. But as soon as that came along, everybody hopped on board visiting the main streaming sites with more pop-ups than the actual sites, and after clicking on about a dozen non-functioning links, you would have one that actually worked and you could enjoy some sweet Harry Potter for free. Now, the funny thing about illegal downloading and illegal streaming is that both were never actually legal. They were illegal from the start and still spread like crazy, showing just how impossible it is to limit or prohibit anything in the digital ecosystem. You can easily stop people from having physical products like guns or knives in specific places like airports and government buildings, but as soon as you widen the operating area to the streets and to people's homes, it becomes near impossible to prevent it. All you can do is raise the price of these specific products. Cryptocurrencies, and more importantly blockchain, operate in an area that is almost infinite and encrypted, so preventing people from using blockchain or having cryptocurrencies is near impossible. Right now, governments all over the world are seriously struggling to prevent people from having or using things that they have already put on their little ban lists. Which brings me to my favorite example of marvelous government incompetence, and that is of course Narcos. Great show, by the way, but that's not exactly what I'm talking about. I'm talking about all the goodies that these particular gentlemen in that particular creative industry have to offer to the global consumer, which according to the UN totals more than $320 billion US, and these are the 2003 figures. I guess they were too scared to do an actual recount of the numbers, because since then no official studies have been published, but most estimates put the total number at around 1% of global trade, which is well over $800 billion. So at this point it's pretty clear to say who won that war, and it's also clear that governments pretty much can't stop anything. I mean, if you can't stop simple products like alcohol, pharmaceuticals, downloading and streaming, then there is no way you'll be able to stop something as complicated as cryptocurrencies. As a matter of fact, crypto is actually making it a lot easier to trade in those products and services that are already forbidden, which basically proves my whole point. Because if criminals are using crypto to sell each other guns and pharmaceuticals, I'm pretty sure a ban on crypto is not going to scare them. Their favorite activities already carry multiple life sentences, so adding a few more years makes no difference. Now, I'm not saying that governments can make it difficult. We saw this when the Chinese government started cracking down on crypto and the market lost a lot of value. Bitcoin, for instance, lost around 50%, which is a huge amount. However, it took only 1 month to recover from the lows and reduce the loss to just 25%. So even with one of the big 3 governments threatening the cryptocurrency ecosystem, it's still here and quickly rising to its previous highs. You see, the problem with demonizing or banning something for dumb reasons is that it will simply not work. If the thing that you are banning has true value to society or is generally considered as harmless, people will simply continue to use it, not to mention that its value will only go up. making it even more interesting to use or sell. There is a reason why people are not running around murdering each other on a large scale, but they do enjoy certain banned substances, and this is because everybody, well, okay, almost everybody, doesn't want to murder people, and most see the use of creative pharmaceuticals as a personal choice. With crypto, this is even more the case, since their only reason for banning it is the fear of losing control of the population. Governments simply do not have a legitimate reason for banning it, which means that people will not accept the ban. Yes, you could say, well, some criminals are using it to commit crimes, and this poses a problem to society. But to that I say, you know what else criminals are using to commit crimes? Computers, cars, suitcases, airplanes, and the list goes on and on. So why not ban all of these? It's because all of these products are an essential part of our daily lives, and we need them to move forward as the human race. Well, the same thing holds true for blockchain technology. Yes, right now, blockchain is not an essential part of daily life, but that's only because it's a new technology. When the first motorized flight took place, flying was not an essential part of daily life. But just 70 years later, flying was essential for transporting medicine, food, visiting families, and yes, also helping criminals with their enterprises. But that's not the problem of the technology, it's the problem of having crime. Why would you ban a technology that could help mankind as a whole to move forward into the next century just because you as a government are failing to prevent crime? It makes no sense, and that's why it will fail. So yes, go ahead and place a ban on crypto tomorrow. What will that change? Nothing. Banning crypto is simply banning a technology, but that technology is already out there, it's open source, so anybody can develop it and put it to use in specific cases, even after the ban. With a little bit of technical know-how, you can actually run a perfectly functioning website out in the open, selling pretty much everything that is prohibited without the need of the dark web, and they will have a hard time finding you. With crypto, this will be 10 times or even 100 times more difficult, since you don't have to pick up and send physical packages. Just make sure you don't write down your password on a piece of paper. Pro tip. So governments going after crypto basically means we have traveled back in time to the Middle Ages and found ourselves yet again at a wonderful book burning session, with governments not understanding something new and simply out of sheer fear for the unknown wanting to ban and criminalize it. But we are getting ahead of ourselves by focusing on a global ban, because in order for crypto to actually get banned worldwide in the first place, we would need all the major governments to work together in some kind of global effort, united as one, and come to a uniform decision to end cryptocurrencies. So I guess we're safe. Because if there's anything we can count on, it's the inability of the global governments to come up with a consensus. Even when they agree to sign a non-binding agreement, they end up breaking it and walking away. Before we continue, please like and subscribe to the channel for more videos. These global agencies like the UN, NATO, the G8, and even OPEC all sound great in theory, but when they are faced with truly tough decisions, they can't agree on anything and nothing gets resolved. Global governments are currently struggling to agree on climate change, North Korea, nuclear bombs, nuclear reactors, and now on a global minimum tax. One of the problems with banning anything internationally is that what is bad for one country might actually be great for another. If you want to stop burning coal, for instance, because you think it's bad for the environment, someone else might actually be achieving great economic growth with it. So good luck convincing them to stop burning coal. We are already seeing some governments going the exact opposite route of banning crypto, and they are starting to incorporate cryptocurrencies in their economies. This could lead to new investments in those countries, but also to mass migration of crypto traders to those areas. So as soon as these countries start showing some great benefits from adopting crypto, others will quickly break their pinky promise to the international community and follow suit. Because as long as you have rich and poor countries, you will never have a consensus on banning things that could actually help those countries move forward and become centers of innovation and investment. If the world top 50 countries say we are banning cryptocurrencies, the world's poorest 20 will simply say, "You are welcome, crypto millionaires. Come and spend all your gains in our country and develop more blockchain technology to benefit us." We are already seeing this behavior with the move from El Salvador to adopt Bitcoin as an official legal tender. This means that companies will be able to freely accept Bitcoin just as they do with other currencies, and that you no longer have to pay capital gains tax on Bitcoin. This move from El Salvador scared the international government so much that they immediately sent their lackeys Fitch and the IMF to vilify the policy. Fitch released a statement claiming that adopting Bitcoin as a currency will be a disaster for the insurance industry in El Salvador, and the IMF went full mobster mode, threatening to withhold the $1 billion loan they were negotiating with the country. But all of these petty threats have not prevented the government from El Salvador to vote in the bill that will make Bitcoin an official currency. Nor has it scared off the other countries in Latin America from doing the same. Multiple politicians from countries like Panama, Paraguay, and Brazil have now voiced their interest in adopting Bitcoin or other cryptos as an official currency in order to attract investors to their country. Because on top of the potential investment benefits, crypto adoption could also provide these countries with some serious practical benefits. It would allow some countries to actually get a stable currency that they could rely on, and this would bring down prices for everyday items such as food and medicine. Because many products are now being sold through back channels in other countries where suppliers can get a better value for their products due to the rampant inflation in their own countries. And this just fuels more price increases through scarcity. So while Western countries are leaning towards banning crypto, developing countries are moving in the opposite direction. All that is needed to start a chain reaction is for El Salvador to show significant economic benefits. Now personally, I don't believe the successful adoption of Bitcoin or any other crypto for that matter should be based on the success in a single country, since they might not even understand it well enough or are just going through the initial learning phase, making mistakes as they go along. But if it's successful over there, then other Latin countries will surely follow, and the West will have no chance of ever realizing a global crypto ban. This means that in the coming months or even years, we can expect several attempts from Western governments and agencies to undermine the successful adoption of Bitcoin in Latin America for no other reason than the greed for power over their own population. They are now using the recent large-scale ransomware attacks as proof that crypto is dangerous and should be banned, completely neglecting the fact that most companies do not have a dedicated cybersecurity team on staff and don't even implement basic IT practices such as not using a single password for every system in the company. Most companies that have been hit in recent years, especially in the healthcare industry, have IT systems that are a complete joke when it comes to security. Many breaches have happened from just sending spam or malware attacks to publicly available email addresses and having some idiot click on the links. In cases where there was actual hacking involved, it was usually done with the doors wide open, basically causing a stampede of hackers flooding the system, simply trying to be the first one. So maybe these companies and governments should worry less about the misuse of crypto and more about actually securing their systems. This was why governments will never stop crypto. Please like and subscribe to the channel for more videos.